What do you actually contribute to the GDP? Not your job title, not your LinkedIn headline, not the buzzwords on your resume. I mean, if you disappeared tomorrow, if your entire role evaporated like morning fog over the San Francisco Bay, would the American economy feel it? Would your company's stock price dip even a single point? Be honest with yourself, because most of you, and I mean most, would answer that question with silence. And that silence, that's the most expensive sound in America right now. Here's what's wild. You're not broke, you're not struggling. You've got the salary, the Slack notifications, the ergonomic chair you ordered during COVID, the standing desk you've used exactly 4 times. You've got the trappings of productivity. You've got the costume. But Sunday night rolls around, and instead of dreading the difficulty of Monday, you dread the pointlessness of it. That's not the Sunday scaries your therapist is reading about in Psychology Today. That's something deeper. That's your soul filing a formal complaint. That's moral vertigo, the nauseating feeling of a highly capable human being suspended in midair, expending enormous energy, going absolutely nowhere. Welcome to the corporate Soviet Union. I'm Dollar Dave. Let's audit your existence.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Dave, this is America. We have free markets. We have competition. We have disruption. We have Shark Tank. The whole mythology of capitalism is that inefficiency gets eliminated. Bad ideas die. Lean companies win. The market is the ultimate editor. It cuts the fat. So why does your company have a director of strategic alignment? Let me introduce you to a concept that will reframe everything. Managerial feudalism. And to understand it, we need to take a quick trip to the Soviet Union. Bear with me, this isn't a history lesson, it's a mirror. The Soviet economy had one of the most fascinating failures in modern history, and it wasn't just ideological, it was structural. The Soviet system guaranteed full employment, not because everyone had something meaningful to do, but because unemployment was politically unacceptable. So the government manufactured the appearance of work. Factory managers were measured not by efficiency, but by headcount, not by output quality, but by output volume. More workers meant more status meant more resources meant more power. So what did Soviet factory managers do? They hoarded staff, they created roles, they built little bureaucratic kingdoms, brick by brick, staffed by people who were, if we're being precise, professionally useless. The system didn't punish this. The system rewarded it. Now tell me, how is that different from a vice president at a Fortune 500 company? Think about how corporate status actually works in America. A VP with 12 direct reports outranks a VP with 3. A department with a $40 million budget is more prestigious than a department with $4 million. The number of people beneath you is the primary unit of corporate status, not value created, not problem solved, not dollars saved. People managed. So your VP, the one with the mahogany desk and the calendar that's booked solid from 9 to 6 with meetings about meetings, they have every incentive to keep your role alive, even if your role does nothing, because your role is a brick in their kingdom wall. You are not their employee. You are their feudal subject. And your paycheck isn't compensation, it's the cost of maintaining the castle. Economist David Graeber, in his book Bullshit Jobs, called this out with a clarity that made the corporate world deeply uncomfortable. He argued that a huge portion of modern jobs exist not because they produce value, but because eliminating them would redistribute power, and power in the managerial class is measured in org charts. The free market theoretically should fix this, but the market has a vulnerability. It can be gamed. And the people gaming it went to the same MBA programs, sit on the same boards, and write the same quarterly reports. The market doesn't punish the bullshit job. The market institutionalizes it.
All right, Graeber identified 5 categories of what he called bullshit jobs. I'm going to expand them, update them, and make them hurt a little, because recognition is the first step. Let's meet your demons. Demon number 1, the flunkies. Flunkies exist to make someone else feel important. That's the whole job, full stop. Think of the executive assistant assigned to a C-suite executive who schedules their own meetings via Calendly, responds to their own emails, and hasn't needed a printed document since the Obama administration. The EA exists not because there are tasks, but because having an EA signals status. It's a human status symbol with a salary and health benefits. Or consider the corporate receptionist in a building where every single door opens with a key card. Who are they greeting? What are they protecting? They are furniture that can make small talk. They are an aesthetic choice, the corporate equivalent of a decorative plant, except the plant doesn't require a 401k match. Now, I want to be clear. I am not attacking these people. They are often extraordinarily talented, competent individuals trapped in a structural absurdity. The cruelty of the flunky role is that it attracts capable people and then wastes them systematically for years. Demon number 2, the duct tapers. The duct taper is the person whose entire job is to fix a problem that should not exist. They are not solving root causes, they are applying an infinite series of patches to a system that should have been decommissioned years ago. You know these people. They're the engineers keeping a legacy code base, a system written in a programming language that the original developer hasn't thought about since 2009. The system should have been replaced in 2012. There were 3 separate initiatives to replace it. All 3 failed. So now you have a team of 6 highly paid engineers whose sole function is to prevent this digital Chernobyl from irradiating the entire operation. Or think about the financial analyst who manually reconciles data between 2 software systems that should talk to each other but don't, because the vendor integration project got defunded in a budget meeting and now a human being is doing daily what an API call would handle in 11 milliseconds. The duct taper's tragedy is not incompetence, it's the opposite. They are skilled enough to keep the broken thing running, which eliminates the urgency to fix the broken thing, which ensures the duct taper is never, ever free. They are a victim of their own competence. Their reward for excellence is permanent servitude to a problem that shouldn't exist. Demon number 3, the box tickers. The box ticker exists to give the organization the appearance of caring about something it does not actually care about. Here's your modern example. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee that meets bi-weekly, produces a quarterly report, coordinates a panel discussion in February, and generates a 43-page PDF that is downloaded by 11 people, 9 of whom downloaded it accidentally, and then lives permanently in the downloads folder of a laptop that gets replaced next fiscal year. Or your compliance team, the people who ensure that every employee watches the annual cybersecurity training video, the one with the cartoon phishing email and the gentle narrator who says, "Think before you click," and then clicks the confirm button. The box is ticked, the liability is managed, the behavior has changed, not even slightly. The box ticker isn't protecting the company, they're protecting the optics of the company. They produce documentation of virtue rather than virtue itself. And here's the dark irony. The more regulation gets layered onto an industry, and we'll talk about why that happens, the more box tickers get hired. Compliance has become one of the fastest growing professions in America. Think about what that actually means. Demon number 4, the goons. The goons are different. They're not confused about the value of their work. They know exactly what they do. They just do it in service to outcomes that are net negative for society. Patent trolls, lobbyists hired specifically to write legislation that kneecaps competitors, aggressive marketing departments whose entire function is to convince you that you need something you don't, using psychological techniques refined over decades. Let me give you a concrete example. Apple versus Samsung, the rounded corners lawsuit. Apple spent years and hundreds of millions of dollars litigating whether a competitor could make a phone with rounded corners and a grid of icons. Think about that. Not the intellectual property principle, just the activity itself. Rooms full of highly intelligent, very well-compensated lawyers, paralegals, expert witnesses, and consultants engaged in a multi-year, multi-jurisdictional legal battle over the geometry of a phone. Nobody's life was improved. No product got better. No consumer got a better price. An enormous quantity of human cognitive energy was converted directly into legal fees and shareholder anxiety. It was a negative-sum game, a contest where the total amount of value in the world actually decreased as a result of the activity. That's the goons' signature. Not zero-sum, negative-sum. They make the pie smaller while fighting over the slices. And finally, the taskmaster. My personal favorite, because this one is everywhere, and this one is the most self-aware of all the demons. The agile coach, the scrum master, the middle manager overseeing a team of senior engineers who have been self-directing their own work for 11 years and would, statistically, perform better if left entirely alone. The taskmaster's job is to manage people who do not need to be managed. Here's how you know you're dealing with a taskmaster. Their entire professional output is meetings. The stand-up, the sprint planning, the retrospective, the one-on-one, the all-hands, the off-sites, the culture surveys, the team-building exercises. Remove the taskmaster from the equation and ask yourself honestly, do the actual deliverables change? Does the product ship later? Does the quality drop? In most cases, no. The work continues, because the work was never dependent on the taskmaster. The taskmaster was dependent on the work. They exist to observe productivity, to report on productivity, to hold meetings about productivity, while the actual people being productive view these interruptions as the primary obstacle to getting anything done.
So why doesn't the free market fix this? Why doesn't competition eliminate the waste? 3 reasons, and they interconnect. First, the 40-hour week fetish. American corporate culture doesn't compensate for output, it compensates for presence. We've built an entire professional mythology around the 40-hour week and then extended it culturally so that working more hours signals virtue. The person who emails at 11 p.m. isn't necessarily more productive, they're more visible. Visibility gets rewarded. Efficiency, if it leads to spare time, gets punished, because spare time looks like laziness, and laziness doesn't get promoted. This means that even if you could automate your job in 2 hours a day, and many people could, admitting that publicly is career suicide. So you fill the remaining 6 hours with the performance of busyness. You produce emails about emails. You schedule syncs about syncs. You are a very convincing theatrical production of a productive employee. Second, managerial feudalism, the power incentive. We've touched on this, but it goes deeper. In most large organizations, budget allocation is a function of headcount. More people reporting to you equals larger budget request equals more organizational influence. There is a direct structural incentive for every manager to hire more people than they need. The free market should punish this, except that the people making hiring decisions are the same people who benefit from overhiring. The incentive is internal. The cost is borne by shareholders who are too diffuse and too distant to intervene effectively. Third, the regulation trap. Here's the feedback loop nobody wants to draw on a whiteboard. Corporations lobby government for regulations that benefit incumbents and burden new entrants. Those regulations create complexity. That complexity requires specialized staff to navigate. Compliance teams, legal departments, regulatory affairs divisions. The existence of that specialized staff creates an industry around the regulation. That industry then lobbies for more regulation to protect its own existence, which requires more specialized staff, which creates more industry, which lobbies for more regulation. You are watching a perpetual motion machine of purposelessness funded by your tax dollars and your company's payroll budget simultaneously.
Let's do some math, because Dollar Dave is, at his core, a numbers guy. The average American white-collar professional will spend roughly 40 years in the workforce. Call it 2,000 hours per year. That's conservative.
That's 80,000 hours of your finite human life. Now apply the ROI formula that actually matters. ROI human equals human energy invested divided by meaningful output produced. If you spend 80,000 hours as a box ticker, producing PDFs nobody reads, attending meetings that generate no decisions, checking boxes that change no behavior, your ROI is not zero, it's negative, because you've also incurred the opportunity cost. Every hour spent performing meaningless work is an hour not spent building a business, developing a skill, raising a child, creating art, advancing science, or, at absolute minimum, resting properly. And the psychological cost compounds daily. Graeber identified something he called moral underemployment, and I want you to sit with this term. It's not about being underpaid, it's about being underused. It's the specific, grinding depression that comes from knowing that your cognitive capacity, your creativity, your ambition, your human potential is being converted daily into nothing. This is why high earners are reporting record levels of disengagement. Gallup's data consistently shows that more than half of American workers are not engaged at work, going through the motions. And the highest rates of disengagement? Middle management, upper middle income brackets, the people who by every external metric should feel successful. Because success and meaning are not the same variable. You can optimize one while the other goes to zero. And when meaning goes to zero, the human software starts to glitch. Sleep disruption, irritability, substance use, existential crisis at 42 in a Napa Valley vacation rental staring at a view you can't enjoy because you keep checking your work email out of compulsive habit rather than actual necessity. That's not a personality flaw, that's a structural outcome. You were built for contribution. You are being used for compliance.
All right, here's where we stop diagnosing and start prescribing. Because Dollar Dave doesn't do doom without an exit strategy. Step 1. The stealth wealth exit. Do not quit your bullshit job tomorrow. I know that feels counterintuitive, but your bullshit job has something genuinely valuable: a salary, healthcare, and, critically, time. Most BS jobs, if you're honest, require maybe 3 to 5 hours of actual irreplaceable work per day, which means you've been given a paid residency with 25 hours of latent capacity per week. That is the most underutilized asset in your financial portfolio. Step 2. Automate the performance. This is where it gets technical and a little bit beautiful. The average knowledge worker's job contains a significant percentage of tasks that are either already automatable or will be within 24 months. Email triage, report generation, data formatting, status updates, meeting summaries. If you are spending more than 2 hours per week on any repeating task, that task can likely be automated with existing tools today, most of which your company already pays for and nobody uses fully. Automate the performance of your role, not to deceive, but to compress. Reclaim those hours. Use them deliberately. Build the thing, learn the skill, launch the side entity, invest in the asset that appreciates while you sleep. Think of it as a corporate arbitrage play. You are being compensated for 40 hours. You are delivering 40 hours of perceived value through compression and automation. The delta, 15, 20, 25 hours per week, belongs to you. That is your founding capital. Not money, time. Step 3. Adopt the post-labor mindset. This is the thesis. Here is the deepest reframe I want to leave you with. We have been culturally conditioned to believe that efficiency should produce more work. If a machine does the job of 10 people, we ask, where do those 10 people go to work next? But that's the wrong question. The right question is, if a machine can do the work of 10 people, why are 10 people still working? Efficiency should produce freedom, not more tasks, not more meetings, not more deliverables. Freedom, time, sovereignty over your own cognitive resources. The post-labor mindset says, my goal is not to maximize hours worked. My goal is to maximize value created per hour, and then protect the surplus hours as aggressively as I protect my investment portfolio. Net surplus equals hours automated times hourly rate plus opportunity value of reclaimed time. Do that math, seriously. If you earn $75 an hour and you automate 15 hours per week, and you deploy that reclaimed time into an asset that generates even modest returns, you are not gaming the system. You are correcting the system's fundamental misallocation of human capital. You are doing what the free market claims to do, but structurally refuses to, eliminating waste and redirecting resources toward genuine productivity.
Look, I've thrown a lot at you today. Soviet factories,
patent trolls, managerial feudalism, existential ROI calculations, Graeber's taxonomy of professional meaninglessness. But strip all of that away, and here's what I actually want you to hear. You are not a cog in a machine. You are a human being stuck in a spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet was not designed for your flourishing. It was designed for someone else's org chart, someone else's status game, someone else's castle wall. The question isn't whether your job is a bullshit job. The question is, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to spend the next 20 years performing productivity for an audience that doesn't notice? Building equity for shareholders you'll never meet? Trading your finite hours for a salary that feels like a lot until you calculate what you gave up to earn it? Or are you going to get strategic, get quiet, get efficient, build the surplus, reclaim the hours, construct something, anything that has your fingerprints on it and compounds in your direction? Stop performing wealth, start building it. Subscribe if you're ready to make that shift. Hit the notification bell because next week we're going deep on the specific automation stack I'd use to compress a 40-hour BS job down to 15, and what to build with the 25 hours you get back. I'm Dollar Dave. This has been the Corporate Soviet Union. Now go audit your calendar. I promise it'll terrify you.